So this past weekend, I officially went to go see the new Wuthering Heights movie starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. And boy, oh boy, was I completely disappointed. As you guys have probably saw on my shorts channel, one of my most anticipated movies of 2026 was Wuthering Heights. Now, I want to start off by saying I did not read any of the original piece before officially diving into this, and I don't know if that helped it or made it worse. And based off of what I did at the end, I did a little research. I think it might have actually been worse if I would have read it going into it. So overall, I'm going to go into this without knowing any of the knowledge about the original piece, kind of talk about it a little bit and my honest thoughts on it. What I will say is, starting off with some of the good aspects of it, I will say that the cinematography in this movie was gorgeous. From every single shot was shot incredibly well. All of the angles that they used did their job in making you feel the way that you were supposed to feel in that moment. It also was just very appealing and beautiful to look at, especially if you went and saw this in the movie theater. I mean, you are looking at just a beautifully shot movie. They did not they did not fault that in any way, shape, or form. However, kind of diving into some of the things that I didn't like about it, there was a lot. And starting off for me, one of the pieces that just did not click with me was the characters. And the main reason I say that is not for any reason outside of the storyline itself really just did not add up to me. And I could not connect with any of these characters on any sort of a level. It seemed like this was some sort of a love story that you really wanted to root for the two main characters together, or at least that's what they were trying to go for. But for me personally, I disliked both of the main characters. And I think that says a lot about my main overall feelings about this movie, is because for me, I just couldn't connect with any of them. Starting out with Margot Robbie, I mean, she obviously did what she could and she acted in the way that she could. There was no shortness of greatness in the acting department of this movie. I just feel like the overall storytelling of it is where the real issue lied. At the very beginning of the movie, Catherine, or Margot Robbie's character, is absolutely horrible to Heathcliff, or Jacob Elordi's character. And she's horrible for a long period of time. He is seen as a servant to her, and she really treats him as such. Obviously, there is a bunch of tension between the two. There is some sort of a romantic situation building up, even after Jacob Elordi ends up taking a literal whip to his back for Margot Robbie's character. The very next scene, she turns around and degrades him about the fact that he can't read, that he won't be willing to read, and all of this other stuff, almost putting that in the back burner, that I just didn't care for the way that she was treating him. And not only that, but overall, once Heathcliff ended up returning back and he is now this new self-proclaimed man, she was genuinely cheating on her husband to be with him and having an actual affair with him, who's somebody from such a long time ago. And not that I didn't root for that situation, not that I didn't root for the story in general, but overall, how can you sit there and be in that situation and still root for Margot Robbie's character? And on the flip side, if we go over to Jacob Elordi's character, I really liked him at the beginning. He was obviously in a much more vulnerable situation, not in a very great situation in regards to what he had going with Margot Robbie, and he still cared about her. As I mentioned in the previous segment, he really did take a beating for Margot Robbie's character and really cared about her a lot. However, as soon as he gets back, everything that he is doing is trying to get back at Catherine, and it is just incredibly infuriating as you're trying to sit there and root for the initial relationship to be together. Not only that, but then whenever he does officially get with the sister-in-law, that is incredibly hard to watch from the sister-in-law's point of view, from Jacob Elordi's point of view, from Catherine's point of view. It's truly miserable for everybody that's involved. And so overall, as I was sitting there and I was talking just out loud about my favorite parts of this movie, my favorite character was Edgar, the original guy that Margot Robbie married, and that just went to show that I could not connect with these characters at all. It seemed like as soon as I started to like one of them, I would hate the other, and I couldn't get past that feeling. So it just seemed like overall there was just so much for me to dislike about this movie. I really hated that portion of it. But what made it worse is I actually went through and did a little bit of research on it. And truthfully, there's so many different levels to this movie that are incredibly difficult to talk about, but I am going to go ahead and try my best. So, normally, I do not care if a movie tries to take a big swing and put a new actor in a new situation or even retell an original story and it doesn't exactly match up. However, one of the things that I just physically could not get past once I heard it was the overall fact that the original Heathcliff was not white. And like I said, normally that is not something that ever bothers me. However, the very opening scene was probably one of the most puzzling ones to me, where a man was hung and Margot Robbie's young character was cheering for it. And I was very confused by that whole situation. And now I understand why it was frowned upon for her and Heathcliff to be together in the first place. And I feel like that would have just added to so many other things because in my mind, I was just thinking the entire time that he was just a servant. I didn't think that it was going to be anything in terms of any sort of different background. So was the movie bad? I would have to say it wasn't terrible. The cinematography and the way that things were shot truly left me gasping for more. I really did enjoy that, and coming from a movie enjoyer, I really liked that part of the movie. However, on the flip side, I just couldn't connect with any of the characters, and maybe this is because a few weeks ago I just watched Hamnet for the first time, and I connected with those characters so many different times and cried multiple different times, and I just couldn't get there with any of these characters. But overall, it was not a terrible movie, but once I did more and more research on it, it actually made me dislike it even more. It helps me, like by doing research, I was able to gather more about what Jacob Elordi's character was supposed to be, and even Margot Robbie's character was supposed to be, rather than what I actually learned from the movie. So overall, I am going to go ahead and give this one a rating of 3 out of 5 stars. Again, it's not going to blow you away. I would personally recommend waiting until this does come out on streaming before you go and watch it. But if you're dead set on watching it, it's not a horrible movie. I don't feel like it was an incredible waste of money. I just don't think I'll be going back to see it again, especially not in theaters. If I give it a second watch, it will be at home. But if you guys did enjoy this and you guys do want to hear more movie reviews, reactions, and tier lists, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. We will be putting out at least one new long form content video a week and then multiple shorts throughout the week as well. So if you guys did enjoy this, make sure you hit that sub button, turn on those notifications so you know whenever I post, and I'll catch you guys in the next viewing.